This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A Winnipeg police officer is expected to serve prison time after pleading guilty to a number of charges today, including breach of trust and indignity to human remains for sharing a photo of a dead victim while on duty. Today, we learned more about the incidents involving veteran officer Elston Bostock and the lengthy investigation that caught him. And a warning to viewers, the details are graphic and disturbing.
Constable Elston Bostock stood in the prisoner's box in the Court of King's Bench wearing a grey crew-neck sweatshirt. He pleaded guilty to a long list of charges. A court clerk ran through each one. Bostock responded by saying he is guilty. The 22-year veteran of the Winnipeg Police admitted he stole money and drugs, shared a photo of a half-naked dead woman, and obstructed justice related to making people's traffic tickets disappear. Court heard that for nearly a decade going back to 2016, Bostock acted as a go-between, arranging consideration for officers voiding provincial offence notices. Considerations such as bottles of liquor, Liquor Mart gift cards, and a Tim Hortons gift card. In all, Bostock admitted to 22 attempts to void tickets. It worked 12 times, but 10 were denied. Court also heard that in spring of 2021, Bostock was on duty when he was sent to a South Osborne home where a woman had died. He took a photo on his phone of her lying on the floor topless, then sent it to another officer with a message that she died of an overdose and that she had the best body on a dead body I ever saw. He also sent the photo to a second officer with another vulgar comment. In late 2022, Bostock and his partner were sent to an Airbnb suite in Osborne Village to guard the scene of a drug investigation. Court heard the two officers went inside and took cannabis, secured it in an evidence bag, and hid it in their police cruiser. Because the officers disturbed the scene, the Crown stayed the charges. Bostock also admitted to using police databases to get home addresses of various people to share with others. One case involved a Justice Canada employee, and Bostock gave out her personal details. Then, in the fall of 2024, the Police Services Professional Standards Unit staged a vehicle break-in. An undercover officer gave Bostock and his partner a backpack they'd ripped away from a supposed suspect. It contained a knife, bear spray, cannabis, and cash that was secretly marked. Bostock and his partner took the items and used the money to buy themselves breakfast. Police Chief Gene Bowers said in a statement that in addition to the criminal charges, the investigation also revealed a number of regulatory offences that are being addressed through the disciplinary process. Bostock's current status remains suspended without pay. Bostock was led out of the courtroom by sheriff's officers and remains in custody. He faces 2 to 6 years in prison. There are still outstanding drug charges against him. Bostock is scheduled to be sentenced January 13th. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
You may not see it or even know it's happening in your community. While it is often hidden, human trafficking and sexual exploitation does happen in plain sight. And the risk of both increases when large events happen in our city. Now, one community-led campaign is hoping to shine a light on the darkness as Winnipeg prepares to host the country for the Grey Cup. CBC's Felicia Adam has more.
These images of women and youth in darkness, silhouettes of survivors who shared their own stories to help others and ask the public to look closer.
We're asking people to truly see, not with their eyes, but with their hearts. To see the young ones who might be hurting, to see the signs that somebody might be in danger.
It's help Brandy Blind wishes she had. She and Michelle Marriott are survivors of exploitation.
I've been exploited at concerts, sporting events. I'm glad that we could be here today doing this so that maybe we could prevent that from ever happening to anybody that young.
The ads will be around the city on billboards and buses. The women hope the community-led campaign shines a light on the sexual exploitation and human trafficking that happens at large events.
It may look like everything is perfectly fine, but if you really look hard and pay attention around the bigger picture of it, probably isn't.
On every campaign poster, there will be a QR code where people can open up their phone cameras, scan it, and be led to a website where they can safely report exploitation and trafficking or even get help.
It could be happening next door to you. It could be happening in your office space. It could be happening in the school.
The initiative was spearheaded by Gaganoe, a group working to address the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, two-spirit, and gender-diverse people. Riley Nepanak remembers how scared he was every time his mother and grandmother left home, afraid they would be targeted.
And the more that we can talk about it and just share what we can do to counter it or to better our community, keep each other safe, the better.
The campaign will run for a month from the 10th of November. It starts the same day as the Grey Cup in Winnipeg, aiming to keep those most vulnerable safe. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Those Grey Cup festivities get underway on the 10th, and the Grey Cup game will be played on the 16th. Premier Wab Kinew was in Brandon today to present Neelan High School staff the Order of the Buffalo Hunt. They were honored for their quick action during the June 10th sword attack at the school that left one student seriously injured. It's one of the highest honors in Manitoba. It recognizes people who make outstanding contributions in areas such as community service and leadership. The Premier commended school staff for helping keep students safe.
You guys circled up and you protected the young. And when you faced a storm, you didn't shy away. You greeted it head on. And you did something amazing.
Police say the attacker targeted people of color and immigrants. Prosecutors want the accused teen tried as an adult and have upgraded his charges to 3 counts of attempted murder. Saturday marks the first time Indigenous veterans will be officially marked in the province. It's been recognized here for years, but was enshrined into law just last night. CBC's Gavin Axelrod reports on how those who served are reflecting on the development.
A drum circle to begin a ceremony for Indigenous Veterans Day, a meaningful day for those who served, like Ken Saunders.
The ones that are here, including myself, to be recognized, it's an honor. No matter what kind of service that we did in the military, we did our best.
Indigenous Veterans Day started after an incident at the National Remembrance Day service in Ottawa in 1991. A group of Mohawk veterans tried to place a wreath during the ceremony, but they were refused. Indigenous veterans weren't allowed to participate in national war ceremonies until 1995. Justin Woodcock served in the military for 8 years. He's now the Veterans Program Coordinator for the Southern Chiefs Organization.
A lot of First Nation veterans signed up at a higher rate to fight for the idea of democracy overseas and freedom without being able to enjoy those same privileges when they returned home to Canada.
Indigenous Veterans Day has been acknowledged in Manitoba for more than 3 decades. Saturday marks the first time it will be officially marked. The Indigenous Veterans Day Act was given royal assent on Thursday night, enshrining the day into provincial law.
It's about damn time. I was part of the founding nations of Manitoba. They were putting powwows on for Indigenous veterans. They were recognizing us through all these years.
The day has a lot of history, and I'm so excited to know that moving forward, it's cemented, and we don't have to worry about it being recognized every year anymore.
Indigenous Veterans Manitoba is holding their first annual veteran powwow here at Sergeant Tommy Prince Place Saturday to mark the day. The building is named after the Anishinaabe war hero from Broken Head of Ojibwe Nation. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
All right, time now to bring in Riley Lachak. And Riley, a lot of colors behind you again this time of year. And I've started noticing a lot of people with toques and mitts out already.
Oh, yeah, that time of the year, Brittany, especially with the last 24 hours that we've had across parts of Manitoba. I thought I'd start with a look at snowfall accumulation that we've seen. This is from Kokoraz as of Friday morning. Takes us out from the past 24 hours or so. In the Swan Valley, as expected, through the Duck, the Riding Mountains, picking up some of the higher accumulations from that Clipper system that pushed through as we got through the day on Thursday. Brandon, Verdon, Westman, 2 to 4 centimeters, about 1.5 centimeters down into the Turtle Mountains, and a trace really on the northern fringes of the city. I know there was some snow through the overnight hours, trace of that into northwestern Ontario as well. So yes, many parts of southern Manitoba getting a bit of snow. The north looking at 4 to 8 centimeters. There's a wind warning in place for the Hudson Bay coast along Churchill, looking at gusts up to 90 kilometers an hour. So we are looking at a bit of active weather yet to come through parts of the province. We've started to build a bit of cloud back in through the overnight hours. Partly cloudy tonight, looking at a low of -9 in Winnipeg. First thing in the morning around -7. Yes, chillier than we're used to, I think, and we're back up to -3 by the afternoon. Brittany, slim chance of a few more flurries. I'll go into details when I come back.
All right, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Brandon has reopened a temporary overnight drop-in to help people escape the cold. We'll have more on that ahead. Temperatures are starting to drop, and not everyone has a warm place to go at night. But in Brandon, there's now one more spot. The city has reopened its temporary overnight shelter to help people escape the elements. But advocates say short-term fixes aren't enough as homelessness reaches alarming new levels in Manitoba's second biggest city. CBC's Chelsea Kemp has that story.
Setting up games at Brandon's temporary overnight drop-in, Lorraine Ratcliffe expects another busy evening. Since it opened last week, they're seeing more than 60 clients a night.
Now, so we anticipate as the weather gets colder in the extreme Manitoba that we see a lot more people coming through these doors.
The city says encampment numbers have doubled compared to last year. They show how homelessness is growing in Manitoba's second biggest city. Despite the province's Your Way Home plan to end chronic homelessness launching in January, the city says it hasn't been implemented in Brandon yet. Shannon Saltarelli says the warming shelter can help meet immediate needs, but more work is needed.
Our gaps really lie in housing, and not just 4 walls on a roof, like supportive housing. So I think as much as we need more spaces for drop-in and for shelter, we also have to simultaneously be really bolstering our supportive housing.
The province says its Your Way Home strategy has not expanded into Brandon, and there is no timeline for when it will. But Minister Bernadette Smith says the government is working across the province to address homelessness.
So we're working, to ensure that there's more housing coming online and that people are getting the supports that they need to stay housed, but also to get housed.
Meanwhile, Rebecca Anhalt says a rise in chronic homelessness by 71% since 2023 shows housing gaps are growing.
There's gaps in supports and resources like intensive case management that we need to help keep people housed for longer.
Heather Simbalisti, who runs the city's only permanent overnight shelter, says while she's glad there's somewhere to send people when their 41 beds are full, the city needs a better plan.
We, as a community, don't have an emergency plan for when we hit capacity, where we can send individuals to the drop-in center, but that isn't a place where they can actually sleep.
Mayor Jeff Fawcett says while housing isn't a municipal responsibility, they're working with all levels of government to find solutions. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Brandon.
Winnipeggers will have to wait a little longer to find out which city-owned properties could be turned into supportive housing. A list of 5 potential sites was announced earlier this year, and the city planned to bring forward another 5 in January. But one of the original properties on Sherbourne Street was removed from the list after neighborhood pushback. Council still has to vote on the remaining 4 properties at its next meeting. Crown prosecutors say they will not be filing an appeal after charges against former fashion mogul Peter Nygard were stayed in Winnipeg. The charges stem from allegations Nygard sexually assaulted a woman at his Winnipeg warehouse in 1993. Lawyers said Nygard's right to a fair trial was breached by police failing to retain records related to allegations. A judge agreed, staying the charges last month. The Crown will not appeal, saying it did not find any legal errors. Well, if you're shopping for a new car, you might think the price you see is the price you pay. But a new marketplace hidden camera investigation reveals that's not always the case. Charles Agro looks at the calls for more consumer protections.
Deborah Dunn is enjoying her new ride, but she thinks the dealership who sold it to her took her for one.
Exterior and interior fob protection. And I specifically said to him, this is optional. And he says, no, it's done at the factory.
Feeling pressured, Dunn bought her car the same day and says she paid about $2,000 for extras she didn't want or need. When Marketplace did a spot check of Toronto area car dealerships, 6 out of the 15 dealerships we visited charged us more than the advertised price, even though all-in pricing laws have been on the books in Ontario for 15 years. It's why consumer advocates would like to see legislation go even further and allow car buyers to back away from a deal they don't like.
I believe that Canadian consumers should have a cooling off period. If you buy a condo or you buy a fitness membership, you have a cooling off period.
In some parts of Canada, a cooling off period already exists. Quebec and BC have one for some car purchases. Ontario's vehicle sales regulator wanted one too.
We are a consumer protection organization, so from our seat, it was something that was worthy of consideration. Unfortunately, the government made the decision not to proceed with it.
But with the Ontario government now back in session, we asked the Premier if it's time to put a cooling off period back on the table for Ontarians.
I'll speak to the minister, but I'll tell you, be cautious. Do not pay more than what they've advertised. Simple as that.
Dunn says she would have backed out of her deal if she could have, something she hopes will be an option for all Canadian car buyers going forward. Charles Ciagro, CBC News, Toronto.
Riley back in now. And Riley, I feel like we've seen a little bit of everything this week. We saw some sun, we saw some rain, we saw some frost and some snow, and even some northern lights the other night.
Yeah, spectacular scenes of the northern lights in parts of the province this week, Brittany. So yeah, I mean, there's still lots of fall left and lots of weather to talk about as well, because, you know, we can really, spring and fall, we can get into a little bit of everything. Speaking of fall, we're not quite done with fall supper season yet, so we'll continue our trip around rural Manitoba to some of the fall suppers that are happening. I think we're on the dying ends of this as we get into November here. So I will draw your attention to one that's happening on Saturday in Brookdale, which is near Neepawa, looking at a temperature around -4 for that one. The rest happening on Sunday, and in fact, Vassar is having a fall brunch on Sunday morning. So looking at temperatures around the freezing mark for both Rivers and Lundar into the evening hours on Sunday as well. So maybe you're looking for some warm fall food. Well, there you go. There's a couple of options for you. Okay, that clipper that pushed through, giving a little bit of snow to southern Manitoba and northwestern Ontario, actually now all the way off into the Ottawa Valley and parts of southern Quebec. But our focus turns to the second one that's forming here, another clipper system. This one, for the most part, misses Manitoba, though, because of a trough in the jet stream here that will push this a little bit further south. However, some parts of the province still looking at a little bit of snow as we get into the day on Saturday. So mostly clear skies tonight, a bit of cloud and still some residual flurries or light snow along the Hudson Bay coast. But as we go forward in time here, you'll see the southwest corner of the province gets grazed by this clipper as it pushes south in the Dakotas. This does make its way around the Midwest and then right back up into southern Ontario. So it misses Manitoba, misses northwestern Ontario, but will re-enter Canada as we get through the weekend here. Into Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds. We're back into a northerly and northwesterly flow, and what that means is on the large lakes in particular, we could be getting into some lake effect flurries or some lake effect snow once again as we see winds picking up, 20 gusting 40, in some cases some gusts even up to 50 as we get through late Saturday into Sunday. And behind that, high pressure sets in and clears us out for Sunday for the most part, and then I'm watching a weak disturbance that will push across the territorial boundary as we get toward the start of next week. So a bit of active weather for some of us through the weekend, and you can see some of the totals here, some of the shading through the inner lake in particular, where I'm looking at the potential for some of that lake effect flurry activity, even down into parts of the Red River Valley. I think have a chance if the winds are strong enough to get into some of this as we get into the weekend here, and places like Pearson and Melita getting grazed by that clipper as it pushes through over the weekend. So winds start fairly light as we get through Saturday, but you'll notice along the Hudson Bay coast still looking at gusts up to 60 to 80 kilometers an hour, and we'll start to get some wind picking up into the south as well as we get later Saturday into Sunday. Temperatures around -7 first thing in the morning, and Brittany, your long range very quickly looking at -1 into Sunday and back to freezing into Monday.
All right, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
We have much more to come after the break. Stay with us. A dramatic week is drawing to a close on Parliament Hill. The Liberal government has survived another confidence vote on Friday as Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives struggle to stay united. Kate McKenna has the latest from Ottawa.
Yeas pour 30-30, nays contre 307, 307.
The Carney Liberals survived a second confidence vote on budget amendments in 2 days, meaning no election for now. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre weren't even there.
The Prime Minister is actually just a block away right now.
Both were speaking in Toronto, promoting their post-budget messages.
We will also build local infrastructure. That means new hospitals, transit, recreational facilities, arts centers.
Our approach had been to demand an affordable budget so people could afford their lives. We didn't get that.
In the last election.
But on Parliament Hill, Conservatives sought to turn the page on a rough week.
We're going to stay focused on what matters to Canadians.
One MP, Chris D'Entremont, crossed the floor to the Liberals. Another, Matt Genereux, says he plans to resign his seat.
Mark Carney did not receive a majority mandate from Canadian voters, yet he's trying to cobble together a majority through undemocratic means with backroom deals and pressure tactics.
Before Genereux resigned, sources say he met with the Prime Minister. And when Conservatives feared he too could cross the floor, they pressured him not to. All this hours before his surprise resignation.
It's really disheartening and disappointing to see that he's resigned. And I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked of the Conservatives.
It must have been pretty damn nasty for him to go from being our newly re-elected Conservative MP to I'm not sitting here anymore.
Genereux denies that he was coerced into leaving, saying he wishes Pierre Poilievre the best, but his caucus is set to have 2 fewer members than it did at the beginning of the week. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
The drama at an ostrich farm in British Columbia is now over. Marksmen have shot dead about 300 birds. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency ordered the cull last year after detecting some cases of avian flu in the flock. That sparked international outrage. Caroline Bargout has been on the scene.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency said that after consulting with experts experienced in managing ostrich disease outbreaks, it determined that the most appropriate and humane way to cull the birds would be to use professional marksmen. Now, some of our colleagues at Radio Canada were at the ostrich farm last night at around 6:10 p.m. and they said that they heard about 5 rounds of 12 shots in each of those rounds. One of the supporters was also saying he was here until midnight and he heard more than 100 shots. And now we know for sure that the CFIA decided to kill the birds by shooting them. This farm and these ostriches have garnered international attention. There have been hundreds of people that have been coming to the British Columbia farm, but people all over the world have had interest in them. The Trump administration have commented about the birds, and even some of the members have offered to take the birds back to America. And today, Elizabeth May, Green Party leader Elizabeth May, talked about the birds before she knew the cull had happened.
This is clearly a case where I think public concern and the faith in our institutions would have been better met if CFIA had agreed to retesting the animals. There's been a long time since there was any evidence of bird flu in that encampment.
And that is what the supporters at this farm have been saying all along for the past 11 months, is they really wanted scientists to study these birds, to see if they had immunity to avian flu. But a virologist that we spoke to said that it's very difficult to test birds, especially because they're 7 feet tall and could potentially disembowel a person if they kicked them. She said that it would take several test samples in order to figure out if there was avian flu in the bird, and then even still it could be missed because it could be in a tissue that wasn't tested. And she says that is why the CFIA decides to cull the animals. The family and the owners of this farm, as well as the supporters, say they want the CFIA to change its policy so that animals will be spared and not be culled when there's a case of avian flu. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Edgewood, British Columbia.
Hundreds of flights within the United States are being canceled, and the situation could get worse. It's because the U.S. government shutdown has forced air traffic controllers to work without pay for more than a month. The CBC's Julia Wong is at an airport in Florida with the update.
It may seem like business as usual at this Florida airport, but travelers who we talk to say they're frustrated by the flight cuts. At the 40 busiest airports in the United States, including where we are right now at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, flights are being canceled, starting at 4% today, ramping up to 10% by next Friday, with the possibility of that growing if this U.S. government shutdown continues. Now, these cuts are meant to ease the strain, relieve some of the pressure on air traffic controllers who have been working for weeks without pay and who have been struggling through vacancies. Hundreds of flights from coast to coast in this country are being impacted, and travelers we talk to have made contingency plans and are angry about the flight disruptions.
People would be in serious danger if they keep up this garbage. You know, it's not just me. I'm going home and I'm staying.
I'm going to go home and not book any more flights.
Is that because you're worried about getting stranded somewhere?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I travel a lot, so, you know, getting stranded is every now and again is part of traveling, but you know, it's going to be tough for travelers over the next few weeks.
We were supposed to fly out tomorrow, and so we're leaving early to make sure we get home, if we hopefully get home.
CBC News caught up with U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy at Reagan International Airport in Washington, D.C. Duffy says he's appreciative of what air traffic controllers do, and then he put it on the Democrats to end the government shutdown so travel volumes can get back to normal.
I'm grateful for them, but I also see there's more pressure on them. And so I'm trying to reduce their pressure and make sure we keep the airspace safe. Any end in sight? That's a question for Democrats. If Democrats are going to go home this weekend and they've kept the government shut down, that's shameful.
Duffy says, generally speaking, international flights should not be affected. But where things could get tricky for Canadians is if they have a connecting flight in the United States with a partner airline. Now, all of this could not come at a worse time. The U.S. is heading into one of its busiest travel seasons, with American Thanksgiving less than 3 weeks away. Julia Wong, CBC News, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
The typhoon that devastated parts of the Philippines earlier this week has now left at least 5 people dead in Vietnam. It hit yesterday, uprooting trees, damaging thousands of homes, and leaving more than 1 million people without power. It weakened moving inland, but those areas could still face flooding. In the Philippines, the number killed has passed 180. Some died in floods. Some poorer neighborhoods were obliterated by landslides. Dozens of people remain missing. Well, the 2026 Grammy nominations have been revealed. Kendrick Lamar, Bad Bunny, and Lady Gaga are leading the pack in nominations. There's also a strong showing by some of Canada's biggest artists, including pop icon Justin Bieber and Tate McRae, who earned her first ever nomination. Magda Gebrselassie has the details.
You've got the Grammys showing love to Kendrick, K-pop, and some Canadians. After taking home lots of hardware earlier this year, Kendrick Lamar takes the top spot for nominations with 9, including Album of the Year, and this track, Luther, is up for Record and Song of the Year. In the second spot for most nominations, you have Lady Gaga with her album Mayhem and some of its tracks getting some recognition. You also have Bad Bunny, Sabrina Carpenter, Leon Thomas getting a lot of nominations as well. Now turning to a specific genre, K-pop. The movie K-pop Demon Hunters was a massive hit this summer, and so is the music from the fictional band. The song Golden has received several nominations, including Song of the Year.
This is a huge moment for K-pop, for sure. And the only place that they were forecasted to get a nomination for Golden that they didn't was Record of the Year, where they would have made history being the first K-pop group to get in that category.
Sticking with the genre, Rosé, who's from the K-pop girl group Blackpink, is also a hit as a solo artist. This track with Bruno Mars got her some nominations.
It's like, do you love me or not?
Canadians getting a lot of love too, including Justin Bieber, who is back with his Swag album. He's got 4 nominations. Drake has 1 nomination for Best Melodic Rap Performance for the song Somebody Loves Me with Party Next Door. And Tate McRae has her first Grammy nominations. Now the wait is on to see who will take home the hardware. The Grammys show airs on Sunday, February 1st. Magda Gebara-Celeste, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the rivalry between the Jays and the Dodgers is running strong after this World Series. It's not stopping hundreds of fans from putting their differences aside for a good cause. The Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto says it's received more than $30,000 in donations from Dodgers fans.
The first donation that we saw came right after the heartbreaking loss on Saturday night, and we've seen them trickle in through this whole week. After Toronto played Seattle, we know of Jays fans that donated to the Children's Hospital in Seattle, and some of the comments actually in donation to us were referencing that fact. And so I think this is going a little bit viral, and people are starting to catch wind that this is something that people are doing, and hopefully we'll see it continue.
She says so far more than 400 U.S.-based donors gave money to the hospital, and 20 have signed up to make monthly contributions. The hospital says it hopes this becomes a tradition and are, of course, staying positive that the Jays will make the World Series again next year. Well, the city wants to hear from you. The proposal put forward for temporary bike lanes and how one advocate says it's the first step in making the streets safer. That's next. Winnipeggers are being asked to weigh in on a proposed interim bike lane design for Wellington Crescent between Academy and River. It's the area where cyclist Rob Jenner was killed in June 2024. According to the city, there have been at least 10 other incidents where pedestrians or cyclists were hit by vehicles on that stretch of road between 2012 and 2022. Now, the plan would see Wellington slowed to 40 kilometers per hour, the reduction from 4 car lanes to 2 throughout, and dedicated bike lanes the entire length. It would also include the removal of 30 evening and weekend on-street parking spots. Patty Weens was one of the many cyclists who called on the city to come up with a solution. She spoke earlier with Marcy Marcusa.
You know what? This is exactly the plan that we asked for last year during the Public Works meeting. We said, listen, we need something there. We don't like painted lanes, but we need something. Something is better than nothing. Let's get something on the ground. And this is the plan that was presented in July that we were really excited about. So let's just get this on the ground. What is missing is the fact that, well, it really should have happened last year. And there's probably going to be some tweaks as we actually use it and as we analyze it further. There's some left turns that are going to be problematic, but you know, we need something so that we can see how it feels. The other thing that's not great is that they're going to be doing a survey before it's implemented. They're going to ask for engagement before this temporary thing is implemented, which may be problematic because the moment you take space away from cars, like you were talking about those parking spots that are going away, people feel threatened because there's a lot of parking around this area. But like Jen said, you know, it's going to be slower. And she said, it's slower, so it's not good, but slower is good. We have problems. We hear from pedestrians that people who live around this area that can't cross the street because the traffic is so fast. That road is currently designed for speed. So we need to calm it so it's designed for people, not speed.
You started by saying, Patty, that painted lanes, you don't like them. This is painted lanes, though, is it not?
Yeah, and you know what? We don't love it, but when we were at that meeting in July, Councillor Luke says, look, we can do painted lanes fast, but you guys don't like painted lanes. And we said, it's okay, we'll take it. So we can't be backpedaling now saying, we don't want these painted lanes. We want something. We need to start somewhere. We need to have something that will signal to motorists that they need to slow down. And this is a visual signal that they need to slow down. The plan is to eventually put something permanent on there. That will be great. But, you know, this is a great start. And I can't wait to get this on the ground. I hope people see that this is a measure for people, not just cars.
Do you think that it will be an adequate solution to curb the number of cyclist and pedestrian incidents on Wellington Crescent? I cited some of the stats at the beginning.
I hope so. I hope it decreases the number of collisions. I hope people see that this is a shared space. It is a visual cue. I really hope so. We need to start moving towards Vision Zero, even though the city hasn't, bought into that idea yet. But we need to start moving towards it, and this is a start.
What do you hope that Winnipeggers consider when they're taking part in the public consultation? I know you said it's complicated and you think that is maybe flawed, that you'd rather have this go up temporary and just happen and then people give feedback rather than consultation. But what do you hope people keep in mind or consider?
I hope they keep in mind that this is a solution that's safer for everyone outside of a car, and 30% of the population cannot drive. We need to consider that 30%. We need to consider kids. We need to consider people who choose not to drive to work. Less cars in your way is better. So if someone is taking a bicycle, is one less car in your way, it's less traffic. So I don't think that this will increase traffic. I think this will lessen traffic because other people will feel safer getting around other ways. And, you know, we are in a financial and health crisis. And the quickest way to solve that is to use your car less. Both those crises can be solved with just choosing the bicycle, choosing to walk, and this helps to get there.
In terms of looking at Wellington, I was mentioning cars often divert off of Academy to use Wellington. I'm curious whether or not an alternate solution could have been further improving bike lanes on Grosvenor, which is nearby, for example, or on Kingsway, rather, which is nearby, for example, for the bike lanes, and then leaving Wellington alone. Or why is it important that Wellington gets changed?
Why is it that bicycles always have to take an alternate route? Why is it that we have to leave, some spaces so fast for cars?
I'm going to push you here a little bit because someone listening might say because there's more cars.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's because there's no alternative. That's why there's more cars. Nobody wants to spend $12,000 a year driving, throwing it away. And so if you offer a different alternative, people will choose it. So we need to start moving away from, there's more cars. We need to start thinking, what other ways can I use to get around that is not by car?
All right, Riley back in now. And Riley, what's ahead for the weekend in terms of weather?
Well, we are looking at temperatures, Brittany, remaining below seasonal for this time of the year. If you're itching to take your dog out for a walk, well, it might be a bit on the chilly side, so make sure you've got the toque, the mitts, the scarf. For some of the little ones, it might be cool enough for the booties, but you might be able to get away with it for some. All right, Feline Friday. On a whole different note here, we have Kitsy, who is relaxing just as it should be. Thank you, Beth, for sending this picture, and you can send yours to talkback@cbc.ca. Relaxing just the way I like to. Mix of sun and clouds as we get through the day tomorrow, but you'll notice some wind starting to pick up again, 20 gusting 40 through the afternoon. Could see some gusts up to 50, and that could push in some lake effect flurries or some light snow even along the large lakes as we get through the day. Having a look outside right now in downtown Winnipeg, -8 degrees. We've started to cloud over a little bit again, but it's been partly to mostly cloudy across the south through much of the day today. Northwest wind at 7 at the moment, and the pressure is rising. Across the rest of the province, temperatures around -8 through Brandon and Dauphin. Roblin at -10, Thompson -7 through the overnight hours. Overnight in southern Manitoba, looking at temperatures around -10 in southwestern Manitoba. These temperatures, interestingly enough, are now about 5-6 degrees below seasonal for this time of the year, whereas we started the week on the total opposite end of the spectrum here. -12 in Roblin, -9 in Dauphin, partly to mostly cloudy skies overnight, and temperatures also running several degrees below seasonal in northern Manitoba as well. And again, watch for some very windy conditions along the Hudson Bay coast with some snow. North 50, gusting to 70, some gusts up to 80 are possible as we get into the overnight hours into tomorrow. Shamattawa looking at some light snow as this other low continues to spin along the Hudson Bay coast as we get through the day on Saturday. Interestingly enough, temperature closer to freezing around on the Hudson Bay coast tomorrow. -9 in Flin Flon by the afternoon. The Pas, Grand Rapids around -5. Starting around -10 in the west. Again, here's a futurecast depicting some of that lake effect flurry or lake effect snow activity as we get through the day tomorrow, particularly as wind picks up. And as high pressure starts to set in, we will get some clearing as we get through the later part of the day tomorrow. And by the time we end up around 5 o'clock or so in the afternoon, we're looking at things back in the minus single digits, around -3 in Winnipeg tomorrow afternoon, Brittany, and -4s and -5s into northwestern Ontario. Your 7 days coming up.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Cast members from CBC comedy show North of North are in Winnipeg this week. The show's actors met up with CBC Indigenous reporter Etsu Lovren, and they play a game of Inuktitut baseball with a unique bat from an episode of the show.
I am holding a baseball bat, which we call in this episode a bowler's dick.
This game has been played for centuries, and I say this having done zero research.
Baseball.
It's a community gathering, it's competition.
I hit it.
All ages playing together, there's all genders playing together.
Yeah, we didn't have very many materials. We didn't have wood in the north, so we used what we could.
Out! Yeah!
I'm always winning. For Inuktitut baseball, because we're spread across vast lands. We each kind of have our own like different rules on how we play, and it depends on the community and how they play. You can swing, and even if you miss, you can run. I feel like that makes it more inclusive and more fun.
I mean, it can be very difficult to be in a town where everybody knows you all the time, so you learn how to, you can't just run away. Kind of force people to work together in a friendly way can really show people that repairing relationships can be sometimes fun.
All right, they want King Ting, we'll give them King Ting.
I'm listening.
Okay.
It's really important to see that our culture is unique to other Indigenous cultures.
I'm sorry.
And that we have the power to tell our own stories.
Baseball!
They're here for this weekend's crafted show at the Winnipeg Art Gallery. You can watch season 1 of North on CBC Gem. Still ahead, Riley is back with a last check on our forecast. Stay with us. A Blue Rodeo guitarist will soon be reunited with his bike after it was stolen during a stop in Winnipeg. The foldable ride was swiped at the Forks October 17th. Blue Rodeo had been in town for a trio of shows at the Burton Cummings Theatre. Today, the band posted it had been located and they hope to get it back soon. Police say this case had a number of bonuses because it's distinctive and it was reported.
It's not as unusual as people think. We do recover stolen property all the time. In this case, this bike had some distinguishing features that were shared with us. And 2 eagle-eyed officers were able to pick that bike out, which was being ridden along the street.
Officers say the bike had been traded several times in the 3 weeks it had been taken. So far, no charges have been laid.
And a reminder, as the days get shorter, make sure you have reflectors and you're wearing bright clothing and even some lighting if you're going to be doing any biking after dark, for example. So tomorrow, sun rising at 7:30 in the morning, setting before 5 o'clock, which means we have about 9 hours of daylight. By the time we get to the end of this month, we are closer to 8.5 hours of daylight. So it's that season as the snow starts to fly that the days start to get shorter here. So maybe a few scattered flurries through tomorrow, -3. -1, we start to rebound a bit as we get toward the beginning of next week, but the wind stays with us the next few days here. Southwest 30 gusting to 50 by the time we hit Monday. Still a bit breezy into Tuesday. I do have a slim chance of showers in the forecast at +4, and then we are back above seasonal through the middle and to the end of next week as well. Temperatures around 2 degrees for Wednesday and 3s and 4s into Thursday and Friday, and lots of sunshine by the time we get to the end of next week.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, an early sign of the holiday season, the festive lights above London's Carnaby Street is your daily lift. This year's light display is called All is Bright. It's intended to reflect the vibrancy, color, and energy of Carnaby Street in the Soho neighborhood. It's had its heyday in the 1960s when it was ground zero for swinging London. Carnaby has continued to be a popular tourist destination for its clothing stores, restaurants, and bars. Everybody already getting in that holiday spirit. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. See you back here on Monday.